Peace, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is Monday. I think that's a new one now. Is Discovery Day. But hey, I hope your weekend was well. I hope you're safe. I hope that, most importantly, your health is at its optimum placement. So, just now, I'm sitting in the garage. I got the Colts versus the Ravens on right here. It's on real time. And it was hot, so I had to jump in the shower. And some exfoliating, I'm letting the water really just purify my spirit, And something jumped in my spirit and is like, there's plenty of people that have advice, but not everybody is going to be receptive to what is being conveyed. And you look at social media today. You look at it. Everybody wants to be gurus. Everybody wants to marginalize what's something that, from a human standpoint, or even from a community standpoint, should be communication dialogue that should have always been. But because of what we prioritize, what distracts us, what has been considered influential, the conversations that should be had tend to fall to the backside. The things that should be protected take a back seat. So I'm just going to say this to you. Number one, your most prized possession that you will ever have is your peace of mind. So with that, there is a required position that you should have when it comes to the things that make you feel safe. Now, granted, because I got, you know what? Because I know somebody mentioned this. Because I made a comment. I said, where I live, I got pine trees right outside my door, and somebody was like, "That's cap." No. Everything that I convey comes from a pure place, and is never from a place of ego. But for those, I'll show you. It's right here. I'm gonna flip it. Boom. Look over there. Boom. 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 Excuse the junkiness in my garage. One thing that I will never do is intentionally try to deceive or take a position of ego just to get you to click on it. I'd rather for you to keep it moving than for me to have some type of impact on what you saw. So, with that being said, your most prized possession that you'll ever come to learn, desire, is your peace of mind. So with that, there's a responsibility that is required that you keep your environment safe. Let that sink in a little bit. Because I know there's some people that may say, well, Gerald, I keep to myself, I mind my business, I watch my P's and Q's, I stay vigilant. Hell, I'm a gun owner too, so I ain't got to worry about nothing. I got no cut cards. Okay, that's fine. But if you have no peace of mind and you're from a position of a defensive prone position, you're not at peace. And so if you're not at peace, you're not going to have sound. You're not going to make sound decisions when it matters. I say that in love. I do. The second thing that is important is you have establish communication to understand the voice that resonates in you. I'm not talking about the one that is demonstrated because of outbursts, anger, frustration, fear. Nah, those are poor examples. I'm talking about the true voice that you possess that comes from temperance. And how can you have temperance? Is when you acknowledge what is in your environment, what does not work, what requires focus, what is identified to be removed, even if that means you. I've echoed this a long time ago, and I'll stand on this because I had to learn this. Sometimes what's required is you to be quiet. Allow yourself to be observant. And after you've done that, let your logic be your guide, not your emotion. But to do that, you got to take the rose-colored glasses off. You have to be honest with what is being presented, transparent. What you see is what you get. And to do that, you must be able to allow yourself to tap into that courage. I'm talking about the little boy and the little girl that still lives in you still. See, one of the biggest misconceptions we as a society tend to do is because we take on responsibilities as we progress through life, we think that it has no impact on the little boy or little girl that was on that swing. The little boy, little girl that used to have the playing card in the spoke of the bike. The little boy and little girl that fell off that monkey bar and hit your head, and you thought that life as you know it was forever changed because you got a scar. Who am I talking to? How about those endless nights that you just cried yourself to sleep and all you wanted to do was have a better understanding? And what frustrated you more is because you could not communicate what you were feeling. Who am I talking to? Number 4, if you acknowledge what's in your environment, you've already identified what makes your environment. You have the clarity of what is going on in your environment, and you have the courage to stand on your foundation. You know what comes with that? Opportunity. And so what do you mean by opportunity? I'm talking about change. You know why I say it's change? Because you're not required, you don't need permission to better yourself. You don't. Whoever told you that, that's because they want you to stay still. Because it works to their advantage. You're not a collateral damage or a personal threat to them because you are numb. You are emotionally frozen or disconnected from self. But if you decide to do the things I've identified, you know what happens out of that? What gets birthed out of that? It will be that moment that you understand unequivocally what your self-worth is all about. Who am I talking to? And the more that you allow yourself to embrace yourself, the things that made you feel less than or insecure in any capacity will not have any weight. Now, let me backtrack a little bit, because some people may say, well, you know what, I hear what you're saying, Gerald, but my health is not as it needs to be. Well, you've already identified that, right? You know what's required, right? Maybe it's okay. Okay, how about this? I don't want to say if it's okay. Maybe in the midst of that insecurity, that will be the moment you do something different. Because you already know what does not work for you. The same things that you are secretly having an emotional tug of war about, it's the same things that they're using to your advantage. And what happens when we are focused on our day-to-day through our emotions? You know what happens? It moves us one step further from our assets, like our economics. How many times when you get upset, the first thing you want to do is you want to go get something to eat or go something to buy? I used to be like that. I used to be a comfort shopper. Oh yeah. When I was in my feelings, I'm going shopping. Because I was always about my gear. But instead of going and getting some tennis shoes, no, I'm gonna go get me a two-piece with some nice shoes. Might upgrade my tie collection or my button-down collection. Invest on a belt, something that would boost my well-being emotion. And I used to be bad at that. When back in the day, family, that if you're in your 30s and 40s, you remember that song called Poppin' Collars, and then there was another song called Poppin' Tags. That was my closet. I walk in my closet, I had half my stuff had tags still on it, because I was also about quality, not quantity. If I bought it, it's gonna last, but it's gonna be timeless too, just like a good suit. You know. But even with that, you can use that as an analogy of like buying jewelry. Yeah, it's all great when it's new, sparkling, shining and stuff, but eventually it becomes just jewelry, and it ends up one step closer in the jewelry box. And see, for me, I had a thing for watches, so I've got a nice watch collection. But let me get off of that. Now more than ever, family, you're seeing a social battle for folks that want to change their lives compared to those that want to keep you in place. And the narrative is to get you to focus on things that have no impact on your day-to-day. It's kind of like social junk food. Yeah, it's entertaining in the beginning, but does it have any merit? Does it have any, you know? So let's talk about that again. You understand the value of your self-worth. The moment that you understand your self-worth, you will indirectly tap into your temperance. So you're not going to be as reactionary. You're going to be opposite. You're going to be more observant than anything. Because now you become methodical. And you're you are cerebrally looking at the things for a different outcome, identifying the investment or the approach. And some, it's going to piss you the hell off. But that's fine. Because what's happening is you're fortifying your story. Eventually, you are defining your value. And guess what happens when you do that? You're able to actually have a conversation that may be difficult instead of reactionary. And guess what that's going to do? That's going to reveal a whole lot of stuff. That's going to have a whole lot of people kind of shook up because the approach that they're used to is different now. There's something about you that's different. And they can't put their pulse on, they can't put their finger on the pulse. They don't understand. So guess what happens? Emotionally, there is a line drawn in the sand. And guess what they'll do? They will start to slowly but surely fade out of your life. Why? Because, one, they're going to try to convince you that you're the crazy one. But in actuality, when you think about it, you would be crazy to continue on with the past behaviors before because you know that doesn't work. That's okay. You know, and as I was getting ready to say, one of the things I learned in my development and my walk to understand my self-worth, like, for example, you're not supposed to argue with everybody. People are entitled to their opinions. But here's a beautiful thing. There's also something called being able to agree to disagree, as well as the opposite, finding a commonality or common ground. And guess what? Maybe, just maybe, they'll take what you have to convey to heart. But let's be honest. Let's talk about the human dynamic, though. The hardest thing for a person to do is to admit they were wrong to themselves. And those same people, guess what happens? That's when that pride and ego starts to be challenged. What was fortified is being tested. And what is not real will fall. That's why some of your relationships that you thought were going to be forever, it was all good yesterday. You don't know where they went. Just as quick as they said hello, just as quick as they were gone. Why? To make room for the people that would genuinely appreciate just to hear your hello. Now, I would be remiss to tell you this. Even if that happens, just know, as you are growing, those same people, they're going to be checking on you from afar. But you probably won't hear from them. Why? Because now your viewpoint or your representation of who you are, they know that there's a possibility we're going to have a conversation that they're not comfortable with. And they can't risk that because it goes against their ego and pride. Who am I talking to? Are you getting to the point where you're tired of crying yourself to sleep? You're tired of looking in the mirror and you're looking wore down because you're not resting? You want to blame it on, oh, I'm just not hydrated enough. No. If you don't emotionally supplement yourself, what you do for your temple is in vain. Did you hear me? If you do not emotionally supplement yourself, what you choose to do physically is in vain. Because where the mind goes, the body flows. That's for somebody. So you understand that the road that you're taking, the road less traveled. That is a classic poem by author Robert Frost. When you finally get to that point where you say, hey, everything that I've been through was not in vain, but I deserve something more. That's when you tap into what we call your discernment. Because as you're standing on your foundation of you, you'll be able to sense what's right and what's not. You'll know. All you got to do is look. All you got to allow is yourself to listen. Why? Because you're evolving. So lastly, I hope you guys are well. Of course, you got to take care of your somebody bumping their bass. Of course, you got to take care of your temple first. But it first starts with this. When's the last time you told you loved yourself? When's the last time? I know somebody's chuckling. I don't do that. That's soft. Well, think about it this way. If you're not comfortable to love yourself, is it such a far stretch that your relationships that you build have the same energy? I know that's stark for somebody. Wait a minute. Hold on. What do you mean? I got this hourglass figure. I got this face that looks like it was carved out of porcelain, but I can't find a man. I can't find a queen. First and foremost, we attract what we are. I know people have been convinced otherwise. We attract the opposites. That's what. No. What you got to talk about? Just like a mirror. Our behaviors are reflected out to be reflected back. That's for somebody. Because I know there's a lot of you queens out there like, Gerald, I take care of myself. I'm independent. I just want somebody to love me for me. I'm tired of just having sex. I want someone to love me for me. Well, that's not going to happen until you decide to love you first. See, and here's the thing, fam. There's a difference between physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. You do know that. I know for us guys, we're kind of slow with that one because it's not promoted. What is normally promoted is security, to be a provider. But guess what? You can't be a provider or offer security if you don't do it yourself. Queen. That's why I always convey since day one, 2011. Stop looking for your man. Stop. Prepare for him. And if you've done the work, truly, and this is going to require time, because what's going to be required is you to emotionally take that emotional backpack out, all your traumas, all your wounds, all your scars. You dump them out. You dump them out on the table, and you look at each and every one, because as you look at each and every one of them, you're going to see a fear connected to it. You're going to see an insecurity right there with it. And therefore you will see doubt and uncertainty right there, low energy. But you know what's also there? If you decide to do so, take accountability for your presence. Because you're allowing yourself to identify by being aware of the placement that took place, like cause and effect. Which means, guess what you get? Ownership. That's why you see this scenario play out all the time. Somebody want to throw shade, right? They'll bring up something that they know without a doubt. If they bring that up, they think the possibility of shame will come from it, because they think that they're airing you out. Why? Because you have yet to claim that. So they use that as empowerment over you. It's like emotional extortion. Yeah, you talk sideways, I'm gonna bring this up. Okay. Good luck with that. That's why to truly have emotional peace and happiness, you have to be comfortable in the skin you are in. And guess what happens out of that? You have just defined your integrity. You have just fortified your character. Not the role you play, but the person you possess, you. And when you get to that point, you have a story to tell. And it'll be a beautiful one. Now, unfortunately, there are going to be some that pray, I don't know who, that you don't do the work. And you know why? Because they refused to. And guess what happened? That strategy that has probably lasted many, many years, the expiration date has just hit. And so guess what they're going to do? Because we are who we attract. They're going to find somebody else that they can gravitate and use that same playbook. And they're going to give you a lot of emotion on it, because you know why? What you're seeing is a person who is yet to master that about themselves. You got to bear with me. One thing about Hawaii, they have a lot of flies. And I'm like, Lord, but you deserve to be happy. This ain't no Harlequin romance. This ain't bronze thrills. This ain't something that you see in a skit. This is life. We're talking about your story. Now, Queen, excuse me. I was thinking, I'm a music lover first, next to Most High. And in the back of my mind, I'm trying to think about, there was a song that Jill Scott had put out on her first album, Who is Jill Scott? And I'm trying to think of the title of that song, but it's escaping me right now. But what she's talking about is when she did the same thing. And she basically in the hook said it was oh so beautiful. And she reflects. You know, I don't want to say like Lauryn Hill was oh so beautiful. No, 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 no. But Jill had a song that's talking about her emotional growth, her emotional change. And then by doing that, she was able to emotionally free herself because she realized not only she was holding herself up physically and emotionally hostage, and she was uh, maneuvering through an emotional uh, placement, which meant she was attracting people that should not hurt her breathe. You know, she made decisions because she went off of what she was feeling emotionally, not logically. And that's why you hear a lot of people want those stones and say, oh, people got bodies on them. You know, blah, blah. So what? So what? Same people complaining about who you were physically intimate are the same ones deep down inside jealous because you weren't with them. But I will say this though, if you do the work, genuinely do the work, that means take the stopwatch out. Embrace the journey of you. When it's time, the person that is supposed to be in your life will come into your life. And for those who secretly or for some reason feel ashamed to admit this, why, that long for companionship, if you've done the work, guess what? You'll know you'll know exactly what a soulmate's all about. Because you both will be intertwined together, being yoked. But I will say this, fam, don't get deceived. If they don't have a spiritual connection, they will never be able to have a spiritual ground connection with you. That goes against it's like yin and yang. You know? And you got a lot of invitations out there. They'll tell you what everything you want to hear, but just look at their behavior. And like I said 2 weeks ago, the people that genuinely love you, they're not going to put you in harm's way. Why? Because they exhibit it through their behaviors of how they value themselves. So with that being said, what you got to talk about? But you're gonna have some people that are gonna try to sway you. That's why you discern. But I'm gonna tell you what, family, and I'm gonna bring this home. You know why most people go through the trials and tribulations of relationships? You ready for this? Because they gravitate to what they want, not what they need. In other words, he could be financially secure, but he will not be able to make you feel emotionally safe. That's for somebody. Well, he got money. Okay. He got you. Does it surprise you he treats you just like the assets he's already possessed? Why? Because he knew what it took to get you. He already realized what your focal point was. That's for somebody. I know they mad. That's why you got so many people out there that will try to weaponize their sexuality too. Yeah, I put this thing on him. He'll be talking in tongues. Okay. Okay. And yes, guys do it too. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's that low vibrational. But let's not stray. When the one comes to you, he will be spiritually grounded. He will always place God first in everything he does, or his spiritual deity, because I'm a firm believer the Most High is one of many names. You can't tell me that is not true. What about the people that are indigenous, that don't know, that don't speak the language of the world? They have their own. You telling me they don't believe in anything? Come on. Come on. Can't be that arrogant. Lastly, you will know. You will know. The more transparent you are to your life, the closer you will be to claim it back. I know somebody saying, he talking to you. Well, what about me, Gerald? I've been by myself. My bed's been cold for years. I don't get it. Yeah, but what about that work you were supposed to do? Why haven't, with during that whole period of time, why are you still holding on to that trauma? Who am I talking to? No, I can't accept it. I can't. Let me tell you something. For those people, forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. Forgiveness is more or less the proverbial skeleton key to release you from said trauma and correlation that of what that trigger was. I know some people are like, hey, if I could only get closure. Let me tell you this. If they truly had any inkling to give you that, why would have so much time have passed till now? Don't hold your breath for them. Don't. If anything, wish them well. And if anything, be grateful that they don't have access to you now. That's just like having corrosion or rust connected to something that was made out of metal. You know there's rust. If you don't get that corrosion out of you or off of you, eventually it's going to cause it to fall apart. We're talking about your emotional system. We're talking about your self-esteem, which is nothing but your self-worth. Why? Because you're a spiritual being first. First. I know half of y'all done clicked off because y'all don't want to hear it, because half of y'all are afraid to do the work because you think that what you see on TV is going to be how your life is played out. And I'm here to tell you, how if you do the work, your life is going to supersede what you see on TV, because it's going to be nothing but miraculous. And let me tell you this, for those who are feeling what I'm saying, I can testify to this. Whatever your expectations is, if you are true to that said change, because all things divinely happen for a reason, it will supersede your expectation. And it's so amazing when you come to have those moments play out when they do, and you're gonna be like, you know what, if I had deviated from this, the outcome would have been that. But because I was true to myself, not only did I get what I need, it exceeded my expectation tenfold. It's true, fam. You know this. That's why they say, never judge a person physically, judge them by their heart. Gauge by what comes from their mouth. Assess it from their behavior. Because they'll try everything in their power to fool their environment. But if you just be still, most people will tell on themselves. All you got to do is take note. Continue to speak your truth. Place the Most High first. And just know, everything that you've gone through is not in vain. It only becomes that if you choose to remain the same. Stop dreaming about when your husband is going to come into your life. Prepare for him. Or better yet, if the roles were reversed, wouldn't you expect nothing less? Something to think about. Have a blessed week, family. Please take care of your health. Love to hear from you. And just be you. Peace.